guys aren't gonna believe the deal I just got. $800 for a brand new RTX 4090 on eBay. Oh, well, I guess it was too good to be true. But no worries. eBay, Amazon, even AliExpress, they've got robust buyer protection schemes that make it simple to get your money back if your product doesn't show up or isn't as advertised. So the question then is, why are these scam listings still all over these platforms if they can't possibly work? I had to find out for myself. So I hit buy it now on an obvious fake listing and, well, it didn't happen exactly like we just showed, but we did learn a ton about how scammers are operating on these platforms and how they could still get your money and leave you empty-handed.
But it's totally avoidable with our sponsor Java. Got four? I'm not Linus. Java is a legit marketplace for selling and buying PC parts like GPUs. Not only do they have PC experts screening listings, but they also offer refunds if you receive a brick.
This topic originally came up on the WAN show when a viewer pointed us to this listing and asked, hey, what gives with this? And then I impulsively responded with, I don't know, let's order it and find out. Well, we didn't even get as far as placing our order before another helpful viewer reached out and laid out how they almost lost their money with a similar listing. As it turns out, these scammers have found some ways to get valid tracking numbers without actually shipping you anything. We'll get to the how later, but what you need to know for now is they can just pick a tracking number that's going to your city and then give that to eBay or another marketplace seller to prove delivery, making it much more difficult for you to file a dispute. But that shouldn't work, right? Well, whatever the reason for it, have you noticed how couriers give less and less information about a shipment these days? Forget about a zip code, you're lucky to even get an origin and destination city. And because eBay can't see the specifics of the tracking number that our scammer provides them, any delivery to roughly the same area in roughly the same time frame will make it seem like the seller has done their job. So dispute closed, but here's the problem. You still don't have your GPU or your money. So what can you do? Reaching out to the scammer is a waste of time. They already know it's a scam, and you could try to escalate your dispute with eBay, but how do you prove that you didn't get your shipment? The tracking says you did, plain as day. Well, okay, how about the courier then? Surely they can see that the tracking number has nothing to do with you, and they can, but that's actually a problem too, because they're not supposed to give out information about shipments that seemingly have nothing to do with you. And then even if you do convince the courier's support representative that your story is true, eBay is going to want something tangible, not just an email from a meat-based chatbot. So what happened with our viewer then is they ended up having to physically go to the UPS store and convince an agent there to provide a note on UPS letterhead that stated that the tracking number that the seller provided was not associated with the buyer's address. Only when that was scanned and sent to eBay was a refund finally approved. So how does the scam work? Well, in a nutshell, the scammer hopes that either you aren't persistent enough to go get that hard evidence, or that the courier's support team is too stubborn to give it to you. Now, I think that many of us would be pretty persistent when it comes to recovering that amount of money, but here's the thing. If a scam didn't work, nobody would be trying to pull it. All right, that's the short version. But this scam didn't just pop fully formed into someone's brain. So how did we get here? Well, it's kind of a funny story because get this, it didn't actually start out as a scam. Rather, it started as a clever way to deal with marketplace restrictions. So before we get into that, let's do a quick refresher on online marketplaces and dropshipping. I'm sure you've seen these little sold by notices when you shop on basically any major online retailer these days. Well, just like eBay, these sites are acting as marketplaces. The benefit for smaller sellers is it allows them to list and sell their items on large, recognizable brand name stores in order to reach a wider customer base. The benefit for the marketplace is they get a cut of every sale without needing to do inconvenient and costly things like maintaining inventory, or in some cases, even fulfilling the orders. This system allows just about anyone to list their product on, say, bestbuy.com. But hold on, they're going to need a warehouse and a logistics team, right? Nope. Thanks to drop shipping services, the seller can just give the marketplace a list of items and inventory that they have access to through third-party warehouses, and then they wait for someone to place an order, quickly buy it from a supplier who packages it up, sticks the seller's logo on it, usually for an extra fee, and then ships the product to you. In these cases, neither the retail site that you used nor the seller ever even touched the product that they sold you. It is nothing like buying from lttstore.com, where you can check out our new Labs collection and rest assured that we're involved in every step of the process, from design to ordering to warehousing to shipping to customer service. Sorry, where was I? Oh, right, sorry. Marketplaces. In spite of this lack of control, marketplaces, they still want to keep their brand respectable, so they do take precautions to protect their customers. Like, for example, holding on to the money for a couple of weeks to ensure that the order actually gets delivered, or insisting that the seller provide a tracking number for the shipment. And it's that last point that brings us, finally, to the tracking number piece of the puzzle. See, no retailer likes to send you off-platform. So, when you want to track your order, they like to pull the tracking details from the courier's API and then wrap it up in their own pretty little interface. Well, that means that they need to limit their sellers to the couriers that they have integrated into their site. Now, sellers mostly played along at first, but as marketplace fees have risen, sellers have felt the need to get more creative to preserve their profitability. Say, for example, by using discount couriers that their marketplace doesn't support. Well, somewhere along the line, someone had the bright idea to use Discount Joe's Delivery, but then give the marketplace a made-up string of numbers and hope that, well, as long as the item arrives, no one's going to notice or care. And that worked, at least for a little while. But then the marketplaces wised up and they demanded that the tracking number be valid. Okay, so now our sellers need a more legit fake tracking number. How do they get it? Well, a quick Google search shows how these numbers are formatted, and most couriers will let you check dozens of tracking numbers at a time on their website. Hundreds if you use their API. So what if we just write a bot that generates and then checks tracking numbers, logging any that work into a database so that we can use them later? But Linus, you say, writing that bot could take dozens of minutes if you've never heard of ChatGPT. Well, don't worry, there's an even easier way. A quick search surfaced a wide selection of professional-looking websites that offer valid, active tracking numbers for sale. I'm not talking about the dark web here, guys. This is plain old boring internet. Let me show you. All I gotta do is select a destination city, let's say Surrey, Canada. I can specify an approximate estimated delivery date range, shipment status, in transit, and I want it to come from the States. I click Get Tracking Number and dun 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 da! There it is. Origin Kernersville, US, shipped yesterday. You can even pick details like the approximate weight of the package if you want to get fancy. And that's it. We now have the tracking number for someone else's shipment for the low, low price of just 25 Freedom Cents. Now, some of these sites claim that you are trading tracking numbers, while others try to imply that your actual shipment will totally be trackable with the number you're buying. But in both cases, that is obviously complete bullshit. These services are all about tricking marketplaces. But the thing is, solving this is not as simple as you'd think. Because the marketplace isn't the shipper or the receiver, even if they had someone on staff whose job it was to check that everything lines up, the couriers wouldn't be at liberty to share any information about a shipment that doesn't involve them. And let's be real, even if the marketplace did notice the tracking was sus, what are they gonna do? They're gonna email the seller and then wait for a response. A response that will almost certainly be, oh, sorry about that, that was a mistake. Let me get back to you with the right number. Well, that's gonna buy Discount Joe at least a couple more days to scooter up to your driveway with that e-girl keyboard that you so desperately need. At which point, everyone loses interest in the investigation. But where are these fake, real tracking numbers coming from? Did these guys hire a guy on Fiverr to whip up some of those bots we talked about? Well, maybe. But we also came across another possibility while digging through eBay forum threads. Have you ever used one of those third-party tracking apps or websites to track your shipments? You know the kind. They promise to track any parcel from any courier, no matter how obscure, which saves you the arduous work of typing in multiple 3-letter domain names. Well, many of these sites are in countries with, let's call them loose data protections. And if you take the time to peruse their terms and privacy policies, you'll find that they generally do not consider tracking numbers to be personal or private information. So we've got these sites that are just slurping up active tracking numbers all day, every day, keeping track of where they're going and when, and we combine that with the market that happens to exist for valid tracking numbers, and, well, let's just say there's some synergies to leverage, as they say. Now, to be clear, I don't have any hard evidence, and I'm not saying that all of these tracking sites are selling data. I'm just saying that I would be shocked if at least some of them weren't. And if they are, well, up until this point, it isn't that bad of a scam. It is dishonest, and it completely defeats the purpose of tracking, but most of the sellers that are buying these tracking numbers really are shipping your product, and you really will get it eventually. They're just trying to jump through marketplace hoops and ship from the most advantageous sources, most of them. But eventually, someone realized that they could use those numbers to gain their metrics. Let's say someone places an order for this gaming mouse. After the order comes through though, their supplier goes out of stock and they can't get it. Well, marketplaces don't take kindly to sellers who take orders that they can't fulfill. So I'm in a pickle. That is until I get an idea. An awful idea. A wonderful, awful idea. I can avoid a strike on my account if I just buy one of those tracking numbers and then just not actually ship anything. Then, when the tracking says delivered and the customer inevitably reaches out asking, hey, where's my order? I can say, oh, I'm so sorry, the courier must have messed up. Well, don't worry, I'm already processing a refund for you. At that point, as far as the marketplace is concerned, it's the courier that screwed up. I'm off the hook. Well, once that little technique spread around the dropshipping community, it was probably a matter of minutes before someone thought of using it to just straight up scam people, which brings us finally to my GPU here. Now, I got lucky, and they terminated this guy's account before he could pretend to ship my order. That made it much easier for me to file a dispute and get my money back. But it should be noted, I still had to manually file my dispute, and you might not be so lucky. So then, what can you do to avoid falling victim to this scam? Well, step one is to exercise restraint. Before you yell, "Shut up and take my money!" Take a breath, really look at the listing. Is the price too low, like unreasonably low? That's a red flag. Look at the seller. Do they have no or low feedback numbers? Red flag. What else are they selling? Nothing? Totally unrelated knickknacks? Why are you even still looking at this? That's all the red flags you need. You gotta ask yourself, what's more likely? That someone totally ignorant got their hands on a new Inbox 4090, realized it was worth money, signed up for a brand new eBay account, and then listed it for maybe half of what it's worth? Or that someone knows that a cheap 4090 is gonna bring all the boys to the yard, and that you should just yell, "That's my purse!" and kick them in the plums. Bottom line, be careful out there. The 50 series launch means that there are going to be plenty of perfectly trustworthy bros out there that are looking to upgrade and move their older cards onto new owners. And I'm a huge advocate for buying secondhand hardware to save money and selling it so that somebody can be using it. Just take your time, find a good deal. Not a too good of a deal. And when you're done, take some time to check out our sponsor.
Vessi. It might be March, but the weather here in Vancouver can turn sour in an instant. But thanks to Vessi, dry socks in rainy weather is a dream come true. Their shoes blend both fashion and functionality with year-round styles and their patented Dymatex material, which repels water while still letting sweat and heat escape. Check out their Stormburst lineup, which includes both high-top and low-top shoes to match the style that best suits you. They're sneaker boot hybrids, meaning you can take them through the rain, the mud, the snow, or bring them with you for for a trek up a mountain or a stroll through the city, all while staying supported and comfortable thanks to a cushioned midsole. Their rugged outsole is designed for superior traction for wet, slippery, or uneven surfaces, and convenient pull tabs make putting them on and taking them off a breeze, which is great for old people like me. Pick up a pair for yourself and stay prepared for any weather. Go to vessi.com/LTT for 15% off your first pair at checkout today.
If you guys enjoyed this video, maybe check out the one we did on fake SSDs being sold on Amazon. Why do people feel the need to scam each other?